Test, test, test. Are you getting the Steam feed, Atlam? I don't know why I'm not getting feed there yet. There it is. Just had to refresh it like 6 times in a row. Okay. Got it. I've got it. So today, in rare form, I've actually chosen 2 because both of these maps were amazing. The Dam Challenge usually brings out the best in our map making community, and these 2 map makers really brought their A game. Now, that's not to say the other maps weren't amazing as well. These just 2 maps really stood out, but all the entries were fantastic. I honestly have a hard time picking typically, and having to pick 2 actually made it easier on me. Might talk to the devs about allowing me to pick 2 if there's a certain amount of entries going forward or something like that. But it is the winners are Sailor Yugoth and Hieronymo. So Sailor Yugoth and Hieronymo, congratulations. This is Sailor Yugoth's map, which we'll take a look at for a little bit, and then we'll jump over to Hieronymo's map next. But there were, I believe, 8 entries, and they were all stunning. But these 2 had some incredible details that are, like, hard to ignore. This is like a whole city with a coliseum and clock tower and waterfall. You know, be a perfect for any number of settings. Let's take a look in the top down here. map has a wonderful aesthetic. I think Sailor Yugoth is watching, but I don't want to like call them out. But I also want to know how long they spent making this map, if they're willing to share. So congratulations to you, Sailor Yugoth, and I'm curious how long this map took to make. Oh my, 95 hours? Crazy. Goodness, but I could see it was well spent. This is insane. Didn't even notice this little market in my first pass. It's incredible, my friend. You really have enjoyed these lanterns, huh? The Japanese lamps. They work good for, you know, that window facade. It's a brilliant map. The clock tower really, like this whole area right here sends me. Yeah, I mean, it basically could be like a Drow Rivendell, basically, right? It's fantastic. Drivendell. This map is beautiful. Fantastic work. Congratulations on the win, my friend. This area right here was just phenomenal. So, yeah. I honestly, it's inspiring how much detail went into this, and it's pretty much all navigable. You've got like all these little streets and areas here. I love like the you use the large, oversized black slime as the waterfront. Arena was almost a theme. However, I did end up doing Arena as the damn stream, or no, it was the office hours theme the other day. We discussed arenas and showcased a bunch of them. So what I've been doing is when y'all give me ideas for themes for the Dam Challenge that don't always make the cut, I may end up using those as like discussion points later on for other streams. I also like discussing, you know, things that are like recurring themes in our community that get brought up a lot. So, how was everyone's week? How's everyone's weekend been so far? What you been up to? Let's discuss. Turn the mouse highlighter on so easier to see what I'm clicking on. But yeah, this is insanely detailed, my friend. I think what I'll do is I'll pop a token in over here. Disable those collisions first. Wish you could disable colliders in this menu. We'll shrink down the token to about door size there. Right. Go take a look in first person. Wow. Like the edge of nowhere. Whoa. That was like Sanic just now. Dang. Yeah, it does blend pretty well because it's all dark. Are you not entertained? Oh, almost launched myself into oblivion. Oh, goodness. Okay. I gotta, like, jump this. Let's see if I can do it. Yes. Platforming wizard over here. It is a good one, right, Aunt? How have you been, by the way? Welcome back. Missed you around these parts. A lot of detail goes into this. It's a beautiful build. Space! Goodness. That's a mood right there. Down by the bay, where the mushrooms grow. Well, I'm proud of him for driving, you know, and not looking at the stream, hopefully, while he's driving. Watching. I'm hoping he's just listening. Because, you know, gotta keep y'all safe, right? Goodness, this thing is insane once you just start walking around. Hey, Joseph, how you doing? Welcome back. What you been up to, my friend? This is crazy. The verticality, like all the different like levels and like interactive areas, places you can go to and explore. It feels very like Dwarven or like something from like a Conan film, or you know what I mean? It just feels crazy and extravagant and massive. It is insane. It's beautiful. Like, it's a beautiful map, and the scale and scope of the detail and like the interactive areas, the places you can explore and go to. Like, we were over there when I started walking around, and we made it all the way around the city. It is insanely detailed and beautiful. Hello, is it Kitsune Kayu? Welcome, welcome. Will there be a way to have a switch toggle a light flame on with the linking ability? What do you mean by that, Darkrai? By the way, you only need to ask once. I'll catch your question for sure. I just gotta, you know, read all the chat. There's a lot of chats going on because I'm monitoring 5-6 different streams right now because we're multi-streaming. We're on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Steam all at the same time. I am winning, KO'd. How have you been? What you been up to? Missed you around these parts. I'm assuming you want to turn off a whole bunch of lights simultaneously. Is that what you're saying, Darkrai? Okay, sorry I got that wrong. KU. My bad. So you can actually turn off a bunch of lights simultaneously at the same time really easily. It's actually quite simple. If you click any light source in Dungeon Alchemist, could be one on a wall or like a lamppost like this, right? And then you can get into the light properties, right? You could change its color. In this instance, we want to turn it off. So I'm just going to turn it off. And while it's still selected, I hit Control-C or Command-C if you're on Mac. You can also select it in the Edit menu under Copy Selected Object Properties. And what that does is it recognizes that it's a light and you've disabled the light, okay? And then if you do Command-V, this is going to be kind of crazy. It won't get all the lights because these lantern windows are an object from the workshop and they're like an animated object, but it will get all the street lights. Watch this. I'm going to just hit Command-V or Control-V, and I could essentially drag it across the entire map if I wanted to, right? And then it just turned out all the street lights. Notice how dark it is? So you could do this in a number of ways. You can open and close all doors. You can disable and enable all animated objects. You can turn on and off all lights. You can change all their colors. This is a great way to make a map a night scene or versus a day scene because you turn off the lamps during the day. So this actually would allow you to essentially, en masse, disable or enable lighting sources across the entire map. So I'm going to do it again. Control-C. Notice it said Object Properties Copied. Then Control-V, it gives me the little square guy. You just drag it across the area you want it to be. It could be a small portion of the map or the entire map. It's up to you. And then I just turned all those light sources back on in the streets. Yeah, this is actually a feature that's been in for a while, and it works in a number of ways. This map is a little tricky to showcase all its abilities because it's built in a specific way. But, for instance, you can disable and enable all the flames on a map. Or you could, let's see. One of my favorite things is, like, animated objects in D8 take up a lot of processing power, so you can turn them all off. So, like, you click on one drill or one gear that's moving, and then disable it. And then Control-C, Control-V, all the similarly animated objects will disable. So it works on a lot of different properties. For instance, this flooring tile here that was put in here, that could be copied and then pasted. So if you had a blank tile over here somewhere, one of these abstracts like this, let's just put one right there where you can see it, right? I just pasted it into that. Yeah, it's pretty awesome, actually. But the main thing is you got to select an object before you do it. And then adjust the object to the, setting you'd like. I just like showing all the various ways it can be used. It's too bad that's an object door. So the devs really like to add in really cool like power features like that essentially give you a lot of oomph, but they're often buried in these menus and you don't notice them right away unless you look in them. Like the Steam Workshop, a surprising amount of people in our community don't really use the Steam Workshop, which is insane given the value it adds to your experience. KO, I've been well. Honestly, I'm excited because I've got D&D tomorrow. First, it's like our only session of the month, so I'm really excited for that. I also have just been incredibly busy prepping for the next update, kind of both mentally and getting used to it, understanding it, playing around with it in the dev build. Additionally, just a lot going on in my personal life. My grandfather had COVID this last month, and that was really scary. But he's doing a lot better now, and I'm planning a trip to go visit him, hopefully, in the next few weeks. I'll be playing. GM Eric, if any of you are familiar with him in the Twitch community, he is the DM for that session. Sadly, it's not streamed. It's a group of my friends, and they opted to not have it streamed, so it is a private session. Though with time, maybe I can convince them to start streaming it so people could watch it. Be fun. This map is stunning, though. It's absolutely remarkable. Like, the amount of detail, verticality, how navigable it is in first person, how detailed and there's so much to this. The waterfall is great. Clock tower, waterfall, amphitheater combo over here is what really sold me on the map. It's like, holy cow. Atlam, can you ban that unyielding potato person? Thank you. On Twitch. Thank you. Or did it auto-moderate it? I don't know what happened. Hey, thank you so much, TikTok, for all the likes. Much appreciated. Alrighty. Well, we had 2 winners of the Dam Challenge this time around. I don't normally pick 2 winners, but these 2 entries were so, equally matched. It was so hard for me to pick a winner out of the 2. And I opted to have both of them win. Stand by. Now, as this next map is loading, let's again congratulate Sailor Yugoth on his win of the Dam Challenge with this beautiful map. Absolutely just gorgeous map. I don't really like hearing when you can't do an Underdark or an underground city, because I see stuff like this. It's phenomenal. Though he did put a lot of time and effort into it, and it deserves all the praise it gets and the reward. So if we could, let's all remember to be good sports. We can't all win, but we can all be winners. Let's congratulate Sailor Yugoth on their win of the Dam Challenge. Underground Dam Challenge, I should say. See him some love over on Twitch. Thank you so much. Okay, so this map here from Geronimo also just took the cake. It is something else, something to behold, let's just say that. Hey, old man Garrus, how you been? But as you can see, not only were they taking advantage of the different shape options where you can manipulate the edges of rooms to your design, and these canals are cut out perfectly. It just looks so stunning. Just gonna throw that out there. One thing I noticed that Geronimo did was cover up where there's imperfections in DA's kind of the way it cuts out circles in terrain. If you notice there, it's kind of got those jaggies. He covered it with a gear, so it looks way awesome. But this map is called the Forbidden Cistern. So, I mean, if you look down in here, cistern filled with coffins. Ew. I don't know if you would have to have a water source with coffins in it, but that's just me. Great use of this rain asset from the Steam Workshop. Kind of hard to grab, but you can only see it at certain angles. But there is these kind of rain particle effects here, trickling down, so it's like dripping from the ceiling. Kind of gross, but also really cool. The top down of this map is really, really clean. Great for, a sewer map, or, it could be just a cistern or canal or any number of settings. DMs out there, I would love to know how you would use this map in your campaigns. I am good, Garrus. Thank you for asking. As I mentioned earlier, my group is getting back together tomorrow for D&D. Very excited for that. We meet up tomorrow afternoon. And last we met, we were fighting our way through a warehouse complex on a dock that we are chasing a particular target there named Torvas the Chain, who is essentially a lieutenant for a character who wronged us, and we're trying to get information, trying to get closer to the person who, got us wrongly imprisoned. So, for all intents and purposes, we are trying to get through all of his workers and guards and get to him as he's running away like a coward. So we, as a group, have opted to try and do like a persuasion check on the group and say, hey, you see your boss is running away, leaving you to die. Honestly, we have no grudge with you. Our quarrel is with, Torvas. If you let us pass, and you let us do our job, then, you can keep yours. And this will go well to allow you to continue working here. How many people have I killed since I've been wrongly imprisoned? Shoot, I can't keep track. Prior, though, I thought I was pretty clean. Pretty clean-handed. I don't know. I never got... I was just thrown in jail, so I guess, we'll never know. So pretty much everyone in the group was essentially wrongfully imprisoned by the same person for varied reasons, except for one of us. And so we all kind of have a common enemy. But we were imprisoned in a giant prison, and by that I mean it's a prison run by giants. And to get our way out, we definitely had to do some damage. So they minority reported me, and is what you're saying? These little back areas are really cool. Honestly, I mean, how would I play D&D without, shedding a little bit of blood? Have any of you ever played a campaign where you're just a straight pacifist as a group? Is that even possible? I guess if it was just like a group of charisma-based people, could probably talk their way through a lot of scenarios. I don't know. Well, we killed a bunch of trolls, but I also consider them humanoid. Most things I consider humanoid in the D&D world. You know what I mean? Especially now. I would say so far, though, considering, what we had to do and what we've gone through, we've actually been pretty passive overall. There's been a few instances where we had to fight and fight our way through things, but there was also instances where we talked our way through things and just walked straight out of it. Um, at the moment, I would like to minimize damage to this place that we're at by, essentially trying to talk to the people here because they all work there. They're like guards and, laborers here. I assume most of them don't want to die and want to keep their job and want to go home at the end of the day. So I think ultimately that is kind of a good motivating force. It'd most likely get them to persuaded to lay down their arms or just let us pass. No, I wouldn't say, do you want to die? We'd take a lighter approach. I was just kind of shorthanding the whole interaction. Sorry, for brevity's sake. Also, I'm not the Rizzler, so to speak. I don't have that high of persuasion. It wouldn't be me on the front line doing it. We have, like what is it? A paladin, and then we have a Sorlock. So we have got two people with reasonable like charisma who handle most our interactions when possible. Though I am a hospitality halfling, and it does give me a D4 bonus to persuasion checks, so I often manage to get really good persuasion checks if I have to. Um. Anyway, this map is just it's breathtaking. The lighting is what really sold me on this map. Look at this. It's phenomenal. Oh my. Kaod, what you been up to? How's life been treating you, my friend? I could give you one of those dad jokes. It could be like, have you been working hard or hardly working? Just I bet you're over there slapping your knee so hard right now. Oh my. Spikes. Lots of candlelight. So, earlier we were talking about changing colors of lighting. Like, let's say I wanted this to be a softer light. Maybe I wanted it to be like an orange and turn down the brightness. Then I could copy that and paste that across the entire map, which would drastically change the lighting, of course, but can change the tone too. Heck, you can make them green or, you know, something like that. It's a very easy way to affect the lighting on the entire map. Wait, did I not change it? I thought I did. Yeah, it had the old paste or the old thing in the clipboard. So, I mean, changing it green, it looks so different and interesting, I'll be honest. Oh, that light can't be changed. I can turn it off, though. How'd I select the whole screen? So let me show you how you can quickly change the properties of objects in mass. So you select an object that you want to change the property of. So in this case, this light, right? Let's say I want to change all the lights to purple, right? I'm going to set one to purple. And then I'm going to, you can either on your keyboard Control or Command C. So if you're on Windows, it's Control C, so copy. If you're on Mac, it's Command C. Alternatively, you can go to the Edit menu and hit Copy right here, right? And then once you've done that, it says Object Properties Copied, like a little message. Then you hit Control V for Paste, right? Or Command V if you're on Mac, and then drag it across the whole map. Well, welcome to the modern age. You know, and it's crazy that feature's been around for like 2 years now. Hardly work. Unfortunately, things have been busy while we're finally setting back down into a routine again, though not all my players can be together for a month. No. I mean, I only get together once a month with my table, if it makes you feel any better. So you don't need to hold it. You just Control V and then drag. After you've copied the properties, though, to start. So select an object, set its properties. Right? Make sure that object is selected. Control C, Control V. Pretty straightforward. Keep in mind, it doesn't copy an object, it copies the object's properties, right? A lot of people were confused by this feature when it launched because they're like, why doesn't it copy the object and then paste it in mass? It copies the object's properties. Anyway, I hope you get the gist of that. So while we're looking at this map by Geronimo, the other winning map, as I stated earlier, we should start discussing the next theme for the Dam Challenge. So this theme was Underground. Previous theme was Maze. So, I mean, as a group, I'd really like to start discussing a new theme. Love to hear your ideas. Suggestions, insights. Primal Edge Designs, what you been up to all week? Gosh, this thing is clean. It is, wow. It's fantastic. Aftermath. You know, I don't remember doing Aftermath, but that does seem like one we might have done. Thank you, Primal. I appreciate it. And I definitely don't work too hard on that session prep. You know, you don't want to burn out before the session. Oh my goodness. So, Aftermath does seem like a good idea, though. Um, oh my gosh. Why you gotta be dropping truth bombs, KO? Players will just skim over it. KO'd over on Twitch was like, besides, most of your session prep won't be used. Isn't that the truth? You'll put so much time into it and your players will like breeze through areas that you like put a lot of effort into. Womp womp. That's the worst. We don't need anything. Oh man, if you had me going to a city, there would be a whole shopping episode. Our session, because it's only once a month, we kind of have opted, unless the shopping or like interaction at the place is critical to plot, then we do shopping as a downtime activity. We only can do it when we're like, you know, at home base or in a city. Because it'll end up being like a shopping RP session if we do play that way otherwise, like, and we only have like 4 hours a month, so we want to use them wisely, you know, kicking butt or, you know, following intrigue or whatever, not necessarily shopping. The DM lets us use the Sane magical items list, which I'm sure if some of you are familiar with. It's an interesting shopping list. Exactly. I gotta clickety clack my math rocks. Otherwise, I'm not even alive. Like, why am I even existing? What's my motivation if I'm not clicky clacking my math rocks? Oh man, and I have some interesting math rocks. They're like stone, so you can't necessarily clicky clack them together because you risk breaking them, but they're so cool, they're so pretty. I do have some traditional like plastic ones too, but the stone ones are something else. Sadly, haven't played in person for some time, so haven't had an opportunity to use them. Hey, Robert, how you doing? Oh, so it's like a physical dice that shows the rolls digitally? Nice. You got a like a Bluetooth dice? Man, can you imagine like explaining that to like D&D players in the 80s? They'd be like, "What are you talking about?" Honestly, that's the thing, Primal. If the table's all cool with it, it's totally fine. And we only meet once a month, so I think we just kind of opted as a group to kind of keep it downtime unless it's really necessary, right? Like if we need to go to a shop to interrogate someone or talk to someone or find information about a MacGuffin, then we will. Um, the only time we've actually like gone to a shop intentionally in the game so far was we were walking through the city and walked past a sign that said it was like stables for like it was like a dog run, like dog stables or whatever. And so we were like, oh, okay. I actually kind of wanted to check it out because as a halfling, I'm slower than the rest of the group, so I'm always falling behind, or I have to use long strider to like keep up with the group constantly. So I opted to, maybe see if they had mastiffs that I could purchase one and use as a mount. And we went inside, and when we went inside, the shop owner was actually fighting for his life against one of his dire wolves that has escaped one of its enclosures. And he like begged us for help, and we saved him, and then he like begged us not to kill it, so we had to take it out like safely, non-lethal blows, right? And it was an interesting interaction. And then afterwards he gave us, he said, hey, you could have any one of the dogs in the kennels over here. And so I got my mastiff mount for free. It was pretty cool. Worked out. So now when we're out and about on the city, I can stay caught up with the group. I'm so slow. Yeah, it is pretty cool. So my character's name is Clover. Clover Brightleaf, actually, to be precise. And then I'm essentially a Lucknomancer build, which is luck feat, divination, wizard, trying to, manipulate luck as much as I can. Ninth Plane over on YouTube says, just downloaded the demo recently and trying to understand if a tile is 5x5. So yes and no. So upon export, our maps line up with a number of virtual tabletops and other implements that end up being 5x5 in their rule systems. So like Foundry, which is one of the primary exports that our community uses, our maps and JSON data line up for a 5x5 grid. Internally, okay, when you're looking at these, like for measurement purposes, there's like a lot of different measurements internally, but for printing purposes, they're an inch by an inch. For scaling purposes of the objects that are generated, they're usually a meter, because we found that objects were kind of hard to see unless they were larger. So when you generate a room and it puts objects in it, they're usually scaled up larger to be easier to perceive what they are in a top-down export. So there's a lot of different internal measurements, and sorry for the confusion, but yes, these squares are 5 feet by 5 feet. It's a 5-foot square for gaming purposes around D&D or Pathfinder. By the way, Ninth Plane, can I ask you a quick question, if that's okay? So, first and foremost, how are you planning to utilize the maps you make with Dungeon Alchemist? Are you planning to play in person, or are you playing online? I guess is one quick way to kind of sort that. If you're playing in person, are you planning to play with printed maps or like a TV tabletop? If you're planning to play online, are you using a virtual tabletop or print for in-person use? Okay. So Dungeon Alchemist maps, when you go to export, you can set it for print, right? And then you have a variety of different options for the export there. But one thing I would consider and recommend when you're making a new map, and this is something I'm not sure you can do in the demo at the moment, you can try by going to File, New Map. When you set it from the get-go as a print yourself map, You can then set the paper size to match what you can print on your home printer. So if you have a printer that can print, larger prints, you can set it to that size. If it's an American letter or, an A2, whatever you have in your localized region, you can set that. TV tabletop usually and sometimes printed. Okay, so TV tabletop, then you may want to consider digital. Digital maps you can export as a JPEG or even an animated loop, an MP4 or a WebM file. And then those can play on your TV tabletop in an animated loop. You can even export it with the grid like I'm showing right now. So you can have the grid information in it, or you can export it without the grid and just have no grid information. Some people who play in person with a TV tabletop, they'll supplement it with virtual tabletop software to help, like, move, effects and enemy tokens and stuff like that. The other group typically will put tokens and stuff directly on the surface, like with like a cover over it, like an acrylic cover or glass, and then they put, physical tokens on it. But like, as you could see this map here, what I would do if I wanted to play a TV tabletop, I'd hide the UI. You could just have the live map in Dungeon Alchemist and have your players move through the living map and add and remove things if you wanted, including tokens. Alternatively, you could just export this as a video, set it to, I would assume, and this one's going to have to be WebM. MP4 is way too small. Maxes out at a certain resolution. So you would export this, and you could set it as a loop on the TV, and essentially move your player, kind of move. Well, it would be a big video, actually. No, that probably wouldn't be a good idea. Probably be best to actually just run it live in DA through the TV if you could hook like a laptop or a computer up to it. You put physical tokens on the surface. Now I understand a bit more about your gameplay. I mean, you have quite a few options at your disposal. You could use Dungeon Alchemist as the, kind of interactive play tool and map making tool. Obviously, it's primarily a map making tool first, but in your case where you're using a TV tabletop, you could, essentially pipe the maps directly live through a computer or laptop to the TV and, move it around like this when your players get to different areas. But yeah, you were more focused on grid size, so scaling and stuff like that's probably a little bit more important. When you export a video, and something to consider for your TV, like depending on your TV size, you may want to stick to certain size maps because they'll perfectly fit or fit more, like, ideally in the surface you have. One thing to consider too, Ninth Plane, that'll help you tremendously, our next update has a feature in it that will kind of streamline object scaling across the map. It's called Universal Object Scaling. Stand by, let me find it. This feature here allows you to, from the object menu, set the scale of all the objects in the object menu simultaneously. So, kind of, that's really quick, so you may have missed it there. One moment. I'm going to slow this down, set it on repeat. So, there's a slider that goes anywhere from 50% to 200% and allows you to quickly and effectively change the object size for every object in the object menu en masse with that scaler. Honestly, I think Foundry is like anything beyond 60 by 60, you're going to have to definitely lower the DPI because they have a resolution limit and they also have a file size limit. Pretty much all virtual tabletops are like that, though. They all have upper limits for file size and resolution to keep things optimal for play. That's a very good question, Ninth Plane. I have asked the devs that myself after several people in our community have asked, and I haven't gotten a clear answer yet. As the community manager, I don't, do much with the development other than pass on y'all's feedback to them and make sure that, you know, they understand what y'all are wanting. So I have brought this up a couple of times. I would love that if you set this, that when you start generating rooms, they follow that scaling. Though one thing to consider, you know, when you generate a room, the object generation, it uses procedural generation, which is kind of like last gen AI. It's kind of a dumb AI, so to speak. That being said, it's an ethical AI, and it's developed entirely in-house. All the objects used in the AI are objects developed and created by our in-house artists, and at no point were any maps or public assets or art or anything used to train our internal, development of our AI. So moving on from that, let's go to a new map really quick just to show you something. When you generate a room with AI, you have options to generate it without objects. So you could generate a blank room and then decorate it by hand, which takes a little bit of time, but gives you that option to scale them down universally and just start putting them in, custom. So you would essentially decide which room type you want to generate. Let's say it is a smithy, right? Then you just say generate without objects. Could have some rounded corners in the back side here and diagonal cuts in the front. Then I will generate that. This will just generate the floor plan with the walls, windows, doors. Unfortunately, that's not where I wanted the door to go, but I can adjust that. So what I will do is I'm actually going to delete this door, move the window over here, get another one of these. So we have a matching window opposite side, and then we will put a door here that I like. I want a single door, not a double. Let's put this here. Now I've got the door, and I can essentially just fill this room in with whatever I wanted that is blacksmith related. I could go to the object panel, go to utilities or craft, select blacksmith tools, and pretty much already divided up by everything I need. Takes a minute to decorate it, but you could set the scaling in the new build to be, say, 50% or 300% or 200%, and then start filling in the room. So it's an extra step, but it does give you that control. I have asked them, and I'm hoping they link the functionality of the universal scaling to the room tool, but it remains to be seen. If it does get added, it'll likely be added at a future update or a last-minute, add-on to this update. Okay, back to maps. Check out Lord Rev's map, shall we? Remember earlier how I mentioned like animated assets? Like this here. I turn this off, Control C, Control V. If there are other animated assets in the vicinity, like other gears or drills, they would all turn off. As long as they have like similar properties. But in this case, that's the only one on the map, so it did nothing. Turning off the electricity, Control C, drag it across the map. If there are other electrical nodes, it will disable them. Same thing with turning them on. Okay, so let's put it out to the floor. Aftermath is our only suggestion. I'd love to hear ideas for suggestions. Sometimes when there's not a suggestion, like a bunch of suggestions, I typically throw one into the mix. It's a good question, actually. that's the object he made. Lava flow. That's cool. Showdown. Interesting. Are these old themes that you're bringing up, or do you just have like a whole list? Ah. It's interesting. So that's a staircase from above. There's probably like a opening, a hole, hatch, something to get down below. And then it gets you into this vast underground complex. Which it looks like there's a back entrance here. If you go across the water. Or the front entrance, which has like a big gate. All sorts of stuff. Look at that secret hatch there. A smart way of doing it. Just using an actual bookshelf. Oh my, look at that loot room. Get all that dosh. Am I crazy? What is going on here? Oh, the grid of the pattern of the tile lined up with the grid, not the floor itself. What is going on there? Interesting. I've never seen that. Darkrai, that's kind of the point of these streams, you know, just kind of hang out and provide like a fun third space for our community members to hang out, learn about Dungeon Alchemist, ask questions. All streams are AMA format, which means ask me anything. As long as it's Dungeon Alchemist related, you can ask and I will do my best to answer it. Whether it's, you know, you need support or guidance in your map making or exports. Maybe you have a suggestion or feedback, or maybe you found a bug. Or you want to discuss our next update and see what's going on with it. All of these things are topics of discussion. We usually kind of, you know, dive into during the stream. Additionally, we talk about people's campaigns, all the shenanigans their players get up to, their session prep. Sometimes we dabble in, you know, obviously discussing greater, like TTRPGs as a whole, you know, the gaming industry, new releases. Often we discuss pop culture and, you know, my obsession with sci-fi and other things. I like Hideout, Atlam. Hideout doesn't necessarily have to be an outlaw thing. It could be any number of things. So what are you most excited about for in the next update? I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on that, because there's a lot of new features in the next update. A lot of quality of life improvements. Some things you've already seen. Batch export is going to be so cool, isn't it, Antics? How's your campaign been going? Ugh. That's awesome. Like, what session or episode are you guys into now? Save the challenge graphic here. Hideout. Oops. Oh, wow. So cool. Session 40 with a group? That's impressive. How long have y'all been playing together now with that group? Oh, play by post is an interesting concept. It's interesting, for essentially how long term it can be, and the fact that like there could be days between activity, right? Play by post is definitely a unique approach. Wow, fantastic. Man, I'm jealous. How often do y'all get together to play? Is it like a once a week thing or a every 2 weeks? I find it interesting that the main treasure room is hidden back here through some pipes. It's kind of cool. I like that, Rev. Aunt, are you still watching? I don't think she is. Oh. The other one isn't streamed. Fair enough. Once a week when you're not sick. Dang, I'm jealous. My group really only has enough time to get together once a month. So, yeah. Happy for you. I like how there's these secret offshoot rooms that are only connected through like pipes. Like, is this a connected feature? Seems like it's important to turn this stuff off. It might help with the lava flow, make your life easier. And then all these other treasure rooms are like actually to throw you off the scent of what's over here. I like this, Rev. It's clever. I wouldn't say our group's not invested because we only play once a month. It's more or less just our schedules don't line up enough. We've got one in the group who just got married in the last 3 months. I mean, just fine, really. I mean, you can always rotate rooms and make them perpendicular to the grid. Foundry will have its grid running, normal. And you'll have instances like this where they're little kind of half squares or quarter squares where players probably need to exercise caution near the edges. Oh, no, I know you didn't. I just kind of wanted to point it out. Like, honestly, they are a great group, and I wish we could play together more. I think it's just we've got people all over the U.S. and different places in their life who basically committed to this one day a month just so we can try and get some friend time. And I wish we could get more. Stinks, to be honest with you. But yeah, diagonal to the grid, it's a little tricky to build that way, but at the same time, when you export, like, it will make all the lines and everything just fine in the JSON for it, so that's already accounted for. Cave lining is also accounted for as long as you have raised the cave area sufficiently enough for it to be dark at its top. So anywhere where it's dark, it creates lines for walls. Oh no, Antics, that's sad. But I feel you. I really like this map. I think it'd be fun to play in. I love the like two offshoot rooms that are through pipes that you really wouldn't find unless you did some exploration, which often the groups I play with tend to not like to explore areas. They like to just run through them, but I've started to I don't know. I think our group's starting to learn that if I get time to investigate things, we find loot or we find secret paths and information. Hey, John Doom, how you doing, buddy? Welcome back. Really excited for that because, like, okay, so a couple sessions ago, I rolled a 31 on an investigation check when I was trying to look through the hotel room we were in, the inn room, to see if anyone had left anything behind of value or anything that had been stashed. And I found a cool magical item. Right? I need to point this out to the devs, how the floor is like off pattern here. What you been up to, John? So that was like the first time my investigation shined, right? Then the last game, I got a couple like 20 plus investigation checks. I found a secret compartment in a desk with like 1,000 GP of gems. I had detect magic on and found a couple magic items, and then I also found a safe, which then our lockpicker broke into, and it had 5,000 GP in it. So we found like 6,000 GP and a couple magic items. Oh man, I bet it's getting harder and harder to find like coaching, like support and volunteers and stuff nowadays. It's a beautiful map, isn't it, Blue Mage? By the way, congrats again on your win on the last damn challenge. I hear my cat at my door. Did I let him in? One moment. Yeah, the lava statues are always fun. Are you gonna come in too? Hey, bud. Hey, Paul. Oh my goodness. How's the kitty baby? How's the kitty baby? You okay? How old are the kids that you're coaching? The like Pee Wee, or are you kind of into the older leagues? Oh, Pee Wee? Oh my goodness. Bless your heart, John Doom. Bless your heart, man. That's gotta be fun. How's my kitty baby? I heard you clawing at the door. Are you okay? Yeah? Miss down? How's his belly? Look at his paw. He's like... Well, dude, that's awesome that you're doing that. Probably a great time with your kid, too. You know what I mean? probably remember it like their whole life. Who's a good kid? No, I gotta work here, right? Dad's gotta pay the bills. How you get your cat food? Fantastic. Love it. Who's a good kitty? Okay, come on. Gotta work. Sit in your chair. Hmm? Sit in your chair. Sit here. Down in your chair, baby. Oh my goodness. Well, I tried. Okay, let's let you out. So I have a chair to the side that's like an office chair that he has shredded from like clawing. So I put a blanket on it and he just sits there and lays there and like will eat at it for hours. But he was not down for it today. It is so weird that these are like perfectly aligned with the grid, right? Or like the room's floor plan is, but these lined up with the grid. I think that's a bug for diagonal rooms. Definitely never seen that before where the flooring was like off-centered from the floor plan. Usually it dictates itself around that, like recenters it to that. Interesting. Anyway, I'm gonna submit that to the dev team later. Won't do that on your time, though. Okay, let's open up another map, shall we? This one is from Chim. All this is loading. Open up another quick little teaser from our next update. You can see a multi-level structure here built in the new room type called Wonky Tavern, or Wonky, I guess is the room type, which it's made of essentially like reclaimed or like driftwood or any kind of scraps they could find, right? Probably from pulling apart like old, pull apart a wagon, pull apart a crate, use that wood in this building, which it's, repurposing it, reclaiming it, etc. So it's kind of fun in that regard, but it also has a certain appeal to it. It looks like it could be made by like goblins or, it's like a hideout for bandits, or it could be any number of different groups that use this kind of structure. Also would be good in a sort of like a slum or something like that. I just like how you could see cracks through it, like there is like breaks through where like wind or anything could probably get through. Okay. Let's read the description on this one really quickly. Just pizza pie and some thank yous to all the people who shared assets. So, Chim, are you still here? I'm gonna love to hear some feedback from you on this map in a moment. Linky, our next update actually will be adding multi-level and roofing. Though you can address that right now if you click on the Steam Workshop tab and click Browse Assets. You can search roof, and there's like hundreds of options available that were shared by our community members that are kind of a sort of a gap filler while we push towards a actual release with roofing and multi-level. As we're in early access, we're in a constant state of development, and we have 5 major updates remaining before we leave early access. Each of those will include, tons of new interesting features. But our next update, Fun with Objects, will include roofing, and all sorts of other things. So the big thing about this map is the hidden underground structure. So when you add roofing to your maps right now, like manually, you'd want to have 2 versions of your maps. You'd have a master version without roofing, and then a version with roofing. That way, essentially, you have a version of the map where there's, just the external, what they can see outside, and then a version where they can enter the map, or the inside of the map, right? Or the inside of the building. So there's also another way to sort of address this where some virtual tabletops offer what's called foreground and background layering. We don't offer direct support for this, but it's possible to make it work within Dungeon Alchemist. I love this whole little underground structure. It's so insane, like the level of detail down here. It's like a whole city under the city. But what I would like to point out, kind of with multi-level, when we offer that as like a native feature, we'll essentially sort that out for you. So when you export a map, each level, including the roofing, will be its own separate export, its own separate scene. I do not know if there will be transparent, backgrounds offered in this update or not, so I cannot speak to that yet. I've been pushing for it behind the scenes, but it's an uphill battle. Let's just say that PNGs are not a viable option, because if you make a map that's rather large, say over 40 by 40, which internally the devs consider that large, it starts making it unattainable with PNG. Basically, PNGs become so massive, even at their lowest quality, that no virtual tabletop can support them. PNG isn't really an optimized format to use for that. So I've been trying to convince the devs to use WebM as an alternative. Or WebP, I mean. WebP, not WebM. And I do not know if that will happen or not. Hey, Sergey, thank you for the feedback. Much appreciated. But I will keep pushing for it, because I understand why people want it. They want foreground and background layers, and they want, to export objects with a transparent background so you can turn it into a tile really easily. WebP is essentially the same type of file with far better optimization, and it's designed for web use, which makes it perfect, really. Chim, how long did you put into this map? It's deceptive, because the top is just, a really simple map. Lovely little town square, right? But underneath, there's like this whole thriving industrial center, it feels like. Almost feels like Barter Town. Right? Master Blaster runs Barter Town. If you're unfamiliar with the reference, basically the Road Warrior Mad Max series. There's the Beyond Thunderdome movie, which, you know, sorry for spoilers, but it has been out like 30, 40 years at this point. Basically, there's like an upper town where people live and do their thing, and obviously, you know, it's pretty run down still for like an apocalyptic type scenario. And then there is underground, like a whole, like, there's a huge pig farm, and they're like using it to gather their, you know, their waste for methane farming for gas to power the town. So they have amenities, power and hot water and other things, which is really important. That's part of the reason the town there is so prosperous, because they have power. So started Wednesday-ish. Nice. So can you explain the pizza pie tie-in? I get it's a restaurant, right? Up here. Man, those look really good. I do love me some pineapple on pizza. I don't mind. You're just mostly inspired by Saks Pizza? There. It's a Mario. Hello. I really enjoyed the centerpiece here with like the airship and stuff. But the underground area was definitely my favorite. It's just like a whole hidden world underneath this city that looks really just kind of basic on the surface, but has like a whole vibrant, like, other area. Hey, I didn't notice the little rabbit den before. This is clever. I like this. Under the garden. Yes, it is. Turtles down here eating their pizza. Anchovies on the pizza. You have me so confused right now, Chim. But yeah, pie is indeed. You mean the turtles? I feel like I found a few. Suddenly, one of them spoke. Pizza. Pizza. Don't know where the other one is. There are two. I just passed the ninjas. Sorry, I'm going so fast. So I'm assuming this is a TMNT inspired, loosely. I'll find them eventually. Can you give me more information than just the ninjas? Like, are they the turtles, or is there, like, someone looking like a ninja down there? Like foot soldiers. Got someone in a train. Not in here. See, I feel like, is this one of the ninjas? Is this what you're talking about? The turtle here? No? Okay, well then I'm completely confused. Are you just trolling me? Then there's no ninjas? Okay, I'm done looking for him. I give up. Technically, they are turtles. Oh man. Ah. Ah. The snail mount here is great. And the goose mount. Morrow. Or a swan or whatever. The goose or swan? Gray duck? It was neither. Lovely build, Chim. Thank you, thank you. Moving on to the next. believe it's Lalandra. Yep, Lalandra submitted this one. Lalandra, are you still here? No worries, Chim, I get it. I love how the water bottle is like half the size of the tent. Our natural size for these is so big. Hey, you decorated the tent. Props. Love it. A lot of people forget to put stuff inside of tents. But you put like a bedroll and backpacks and stuff in pretty much all of them. So, Lalandra, should I expect any traps in here? They're digging in the wrong place. Very much Indiana Jones vibes here. Very cool. Getting some wind blowing my outside my house. My power goes out. Just letting you guys know, guys and gals know. It sounds windy outside, so for some reason the stream just ends. That could be why the power might have just gone out. In Vegas, it happens sometimes, especially when it's either really, really like stormy or really windy. They have like a lot of palm trees and like eucalyptus trees here, and they'll fall and hit power lines and knock out entire areas. Awful. And the winds get so intense here because it's just like a big desert valley. Hey, Penumbra, how you doing? Welcome. Let me in! No, this is made by hand using objects. Anyone with the current build can do this. With the public build. It's possible to do stuff like this if you take a couple of steps. So the first step is going into the object menu and disabling collisions. When you disable collisions, you enable the fun, as we like to say on the stream. It allows you to essentially raise objects up and down. It allows you to resize them far above and below their normal constraints. So an object can be made teeny tiny or gargantuan, everything in between, unless it's locked from resizing to begin with. And then lastly, it allows you to rotate objects. So and then merge them together. So you can put objects into each other and make kind of new, unique, overlapping objects. So the creator of this map, Lalandra, who is watching in our Twitch feed at the moment, so here with you, used objects under the object menu, located under structural. So object structural. And many of these are building blocks. Things like, essentially this method is kind of like Minecraft. You're snapping together Lego or blocks to build a structure by hand. So it's not automated by using the room tool like, traditional use would guide you to do. It's all by hand. So it's more like other map makers on the market. So it is possible to use this to your advantage right now to make intricate multi-level structures right now, but it's difficult. Everything has to be done by hand, and exporting this is a degree of difficulty as well, because essentially all that's visible would only be what's outside. So Lalandra would probably have to have several versions of this map that are saved with peeled back layers so you can expose the different levels that the players might go into and then save those as separate scenes or new maps. So possible, but a little bit of work. So with that in mind, though, our next update will support multi-level and roofing. We're working on angled roofing right now in the background. That's what the devs are hard at work on right now the most. That's what a lot of time and effort's being put into. We have several developers working on it, and it's been very challenging to get just right, but when it's done, it'll be amazing. There will be flat roofing and angled roofing available. Here's kind of an example of multi-level, how you can kind of switch between floors. You can use a hotkey plus or minus to go up and down between the flooring, and or you can use this new UI element in the top right that allows you to click up and down. Depending on the environment you're in, so if you're in like the dark parchment biome, you can only go upward, building upward structure. But if you're in an environmental biome where there's terrain, like forest or desert, you can then build underground as well. Quite a bit of cool stuff on the horizon with this. Let's see here. Here's some kind of an example of it going underground a little bit. So there's a secret hatch under the rug. So we're adding a batch exporting system to the new update that'll essentially, if there's multiple levels detected on a map, it'll export them all as a batch. And the batch exporter also can be fine-tuned and configured with individual configurations. So let's say you want a map, you want to export one with a grid, one without a grid, one with night lighting, one with day lighting, one with snow. You could save all these pre-configured export configurations and then export them in a big batch one after another. It'll take care of it automatically, so you can set it and forget it, and tell it to start exporting at night before you go to bed, and it'll be done when you wake up. But yes, I would just like to point out multi-level using the room tool will be supported in the next update. However, multi-level right now, totally possible if you use either objects from the workshop that, are already multi-level, like a pre-configured building, like a prefab structure or home, or if you use the structural objects like I shared earlier. Oops. Not what I wanted. So, if you notice here, you have the normal map export tab, and then there's the batch export tab. And then you can set formats. This was just my naming convention, so I said Roll20, 72 DPI, image, night, no borders, gridless, snow. So I could set all these different parameters, save it, and then export them one after another, and there's a drop down with all the different pre-configured options. So if you watch that drop down, I saved a bunch, so you could go through and save, any variation of a map you want to export, and then do so. So maybe you wanted animated, non-animated, day, night, winter, gridded, no grid, etc. It's very, very simple and straightforward. It's just an expanded export menu that gives you more options. I haven't seen how this interfaces with multi-level directly. Is one concern I have, is like if you have a multi-level structure and go to export it, in the batch exporter, it doesn't indicate that there's several levels. I do wish that there was a drop down that showed all the levels in the map and you could check them. They're all checked by default. But maybe later on you only want to export one level of a map because you made subtle changes to it, or your players destroyed something and you want to just export that portion or change that portion. You know, it's a map you visit a lot. Maybe you want to make adjustments to it over time. So we'll see how the batch exporter further develops with time. Anyway, back to Lilandra's map, because that's what we were focusing on here. It's quite an extensive grouping of objects, but most of them are objects that snap into place on the grid, so it makes it very easy to build. Hey, Highland Lass, how are you? Ooh, did not notice this before. What is that? I thought it was like a secret. Kind of is one there. Ah, okay. How did I not even see this before? Crazy, because the pillar was there. Interesting. And that's the other side, I'm assuming, where it's like caved in. There's a little bit of water leaking under. Ooh, nice. I remember that one. Very cool. How's the session going today? Your players having fun? I appreciate you dropping in to say hello. Lilandra, how long did you work on this map? I would love to know how many hours you put into this. Oh no, I broke a floor tile. It's okay, I made it in. Yeah, it is a creepy sewer. I just, you know, it's fun for the experience, you know what I mean? 10 hours? Not bad. Very cool. I like it. Just has like Mummy or Indiana Jones vibes. Very fun build. And I love how like intricate the multi like level is, the verticality you've brought to the table with this. Very, very cool. Thank you for sharing this map. Since Highland Lass is here right now, I'm going to show her map next. So she gets to see her map shared while she's on her brief break. We have 2 maps left to share before the stream. It was wonderful. I honestly really was impressed, like how every level you could get to on foot in first person. I'm assuming you tested it a couple of times to make sure you could. Because, like, it was good. It's very smooth. Like, it's very navigable. I love it when our map makers spend time walking through the maps in first person because you can often see where your players might get hung up on things. How long did you put into this one, Highland Lass? And really quickly back to Lalandra, thank you again for sharing your map. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry we're kind of jumping between subjects here and covering a couple of maps because I realize we only have about 10 minutes left and I want to showcase all the maps remaining. Thank you again, Lalandra, for sharing your work and for participating in the Dam Challenge. Island lasts 25 hours. Wow, impressive. Impressive. You let the room tool do a lot of work for you, which is great, you know, to really carve out the spaces, but then you added the details in, which I love, you know, all the stone work and the blood and all these other things, the effects. And then I see you brought the rock wall in to be sheared and like lined up with the room so it's like less slanted, which I also really prefer as well. I wish this was like the stock method, but I understand why they do it the way they do for exports. This is cool. Ugh. That's deceptive. Unfortunately, Volcari, this is the first update we've ever launched that will lack full backwards compatibility. What that means is your old maps, you'll still be able to open them in DA and edit them and make changes and save them, and you can even upload them to the workshop. But you will not be able to add multi-level with the multi-level tool. It's locked. There's like the icon over here has a lock icon on it. Because there's so many assets that were depreciated and changed. Walls were fundamentally changed, all the arches, all the pillars, all the doors, and a lot of staircases, like a lot of everything got changed. So there will essentially be kind of two versions of Dungeon Alchemist. The version that runs the older maps and the version that runs the newer maps, and they'll all be in one contained DA. It's a bummer. It's the first time in our entire development that we've had a lack of backwards compatibility. In fact, we were super proud that this is the only time this has happened. But there was so many changes and adjustments to bring multi-level to the table and roofing that fundamentally changed Dungeon Alchemist from the ground up. Did it work really well for you, Highland Lass, in those regards? You know, that's a good suggestion. I don't know if it's even been considered, but it does seem like a really good idea to allow filtering for it. And we are always making improvements to the workshop's like search and navigation experience. This seems like a great idea to add in. May not even be something they've considered. Though I do say this, if you filter by, say, the new style, you're essentially going to decimate your workshop experience. It'll go from, say, 11,000 maps down to pretty much nothing overnight, you know? Filtering by date would work to an extent, but it wouldn't. People could still make updates to their older maps and older dam files and submit them, and it would still be not backwards compatible. Does that make sense? So it wouldn't work with multi-level, and it could still be added to the workshop. So a filter by date would get a lot, but not all. Though it does have that in the workshop already. Like if you go to browse maps, you can sort by most recent, which I love to do, because then you see all the new maps added onto the workshop more recently. Anyway, going on that here, let's see, filter by... Okay, filter by multi-level. I'm going to bring that up in my next meeting with them So I don't know when that'll be, but hopefully soon. It will not be, but if you still have old maps that are on the workshop, you'll be able to open them, you'll be able to edit them, you just won't be able to add a second level to them. It'll lock out multi-level on those maps. There is, let's just say you'll be able to open and edit your old maps. If you have a DAM file from an older build, it won't magically stop working. You'll be able to open and edit it and make changes to it. If you have an old DAM file on the workshop, same thing. So you still have access to them. You can still edit them. You can still export them. You just won't be able to add multi-level features to them using the room tool. It will still have to be the traditional method by hand with objects for older maps. Sorry for the confusion there. It's because it's like, hey, see you later, Highland Lass. I really like this area of your map, by the way. This is my favorite part. Like this whole like ritual room. Whatever happened here seems awful. Thank you for dropping in though. You cannot make them old maps multi-level using the room tool. It's locked out. Like the room tool's still there. You can make the first level, but you can't make levels above that. Does that make sense? This portion is locked out. So it'll show this icon over here, but it'll have a lock in it. Excuse me. I haven't had much experience opening older maps in the new build because my build is very scuffed. It's a very limited alpha build that kind of works half the time, so opening older maps usually isn't on the table. I usually just play around with the current tools and build new maps in it. But I have had a couple maps I've been able to open and see the icon firsthand, just so like I knew it was there. But basically, if you've built an older map and saved it prior to this update, it'll detect the version difference and it'll show a little, lock on the multi-level icon. So you can still build in the map by hand, add multi-level with objects, just not multi-level with the room tool. So, yeah, basically you will not be able to add multi-level using the new multi-level tool to any maps made prior to the update. Though you will still be able to open them, edit them, export them, play with them, etc. So all of your old work will not go to waste. But if you want to, make an old map into a multi-level map, you'll have to remaster it from scratch. Filtering by date, here's the problem with that, Atlam. Okay, so you're making a broad assumption that people uploading after the new update wouldn't have an old map that they upload or an old map that they worked on that they made changes to. So it is possible, sorting by, say, date after the update, definitely. Sorting by most recent, the majority of them will be all in multi-level compatible, right? But there will still be an outlier. Once in a while, someone might open their old map, make an update to it, and how you can update your existing works on the workshop by updating the published version of the map. Additionally, sorry, losing my train of thought here. I do think adding a filter that would just sort by basically builds types would be the way to do it. It would just be something like sort by multi-level or non, right? Though I don't know if we can add sorting features like that. I don't know if it's built into like the API options that Steam has. I think part of the reason that's so kind of limited is it's built around their searching, like their search options. So I'll talk to the devs and see what they can come up with. Though by default, most recent, like pretty much after the update's launched and people have updated their DA, they'll still, the majority of maps being added to the workshop will be in the new build with the multi-level that's backwards compatible. But I could still see some people opening up older builds, making updates to it, having older maps that they finally upload to the workshop that they didn't months ago, things like that. So there has to be some like outliers, some overhang. Yeah, I do think a tag, basically, or something to that degree, a sorting system, a tag that essentially maybe even just like a little icon on it, or in when you highlight here, that shows like a multi-level icon, so it's from that build. Or, it may have a different icon if it's pre-multi-level or something. Does that make sense? I'll talk to them about it, though. It's a good idea. It's a solid idea. It's an interesting thought, and it should be considered. Lovely, lovely map by Highland Last, but we've got one more we need to showcase before we wrap up today, so we're going to jump over to that. The Underdark Nitro Arena. This one, very beautiful. The lighting in this was phenomenal. But like, let's say Sack, for instance, who has thousands of maps. He opens one of his older maps and makes an update to it and then re-uploads it to the workshop. It would be showing as like a new version of it, but it would not be backwards compatible with like multi-level. So there may be outliers, little overhangs that, we can't account for with just recent sorting. Volkari, is this yours? Because it's usually by save date and upload date, not necessarily like... Gotcha. See, I did not realize this was yours this whole time. But you know what? When you submit it in Discord, I should just put the two together. I'm kind of silly. But when I see a name here, I kind of just lose track. So that's good to know. I'll try and remember that. But, man, I really love this one. And I wish I had time to show it sooner. Because it's beautiful. It's very, very beautiful. It was a top contender for sure. I like all the little like artwork for like the various fighters and stuff. Ooh, you're using some invisible lights. Smart, smart. Speaking of invisible lights, the workshop Invisible Lights by Sack will kind of be, I guess, a thing of the past, because you really won't need to use them after the next update because of abstract lighting. I'm sure some of you have seen abstract lighting examples of it. This clip is great. Let me show you this. If it ever decides to play. So abstracts allow you to add spotlights and lanterns that you can turn off their housing and make them invisible, but the light they shed remains. So it allows you to add more vibrant lights to areas that you want to make feel more bright and alive, or maybe you want a spotlight on an area to draw attention to it, like a magical item or a point of interest, or a stage even, so it allows you to add extra lighting to the map without adding tons of candles and torches to the map. Very cool in that regard. Volkari, though, like, honestly, the lighting got me at first, is what the first grabbed me. And then I dove in to your map, started checking it out. You've got all this neat artwork. You've got like the very interesting arena setup, right? Which arena has kind of been the topic of the week. We discussed that during office hours. So I'm definitely going to showcase this map next time I discuss arenas. I'm not a big wrestling fan, but I can look here and see. I don't know. Oh, okay, that looks like John Cena based on the face alone. And that looks like maybe a Batista or The Rock. That looks like Arnold more than a wrestler. Who is that? Because it looks like Conan. Is that Randy Savage? That might be like maybe Triple H or something there. See, Bret Hart. Yeah, these ones here look like Bret and Owen Hart. Oh, the Hardy brothers. Okay. Ah, gotcha. It's funny though, because there's like an old school art picture of the Hart, or like the Bret and Owen Hart, that are standing right next to each other, kind of pose like this, and they're like old school, like 80s, 90s wrestling stuff. Kind of, that's what it reminded me of. I think it was like the cover of a video game or something. So hard to see some of these because the lighting out here is a little dark. What I might do, though, is we'll rotate it and maybe brighten it up a bit. Those are now impossible to see, but I can at least see these. I don't know. Is that like Orton? Randy Orton? Kind of looks like him. Could be a Cena, too. It's hard to tell. So dark. The AI was not kind with the text generation on these. Ric Flair drow. Too funny. So who's the lion supposed to be? That also looks like Edge, maybe? Now that I could see his face. So it kind of looks like either or. Earlier I did say it looked like Triple H, but then these like ridges in his brow seem more like Edge, because he has that like really like the big ridges in his brow when he like furls his brow. That, I don't know, that could probably be a Steve Austin type. That could be like a Hulk Hogan type. The yellow straps kind of lead me to believe that. They do. They do. Man, I don't know who these are. They're cool, though. It's interesting. And then here you have the Hulk, clearly. That could maybe be the Undertaker. Yeah, that one's definitely Hogan there. That one gave me Hogan vibes for sure. Hogan vibes. You mean the wrestler turned actor turned American treasure? Yes, he's gonna be in the movie, and he will be breaking the fourth wall while he's in the movie. I really like this too, the entry area with the portal. That's like killer, my friend. That's like so iconic and wrestling. Like it just gives that vibe. You know what I mean? Like you'd be running down with like music and lights. So fun. Bummer. So, really quickly, I do want to tell everyone that our next dam challenge is Hideout. So, Using Hideout as inspiration, I'd encourage you to build a map of any shape or size and submit that to our Damn Challenge channel in our Discord. Make sure you follow the rules pinned at the top of the channel. You have roughly 2 weeks to submit your entry between now and the 16th of May, end of day. So 11:59 p.m. in your time zone. You have between now and then to submit your entry. So be thinking about what your map will be, using Hideout as inspiration. Remember, the rules pinned at the top of our Discord Damn Challenge channel must be followed in order for your entry to qualify. Otherwise, it will be disqualified. But if you do qualify, your map will be featured on the stream, showcase like we did today. You also have a chance to win a $10 Hero Forge gift card if your map is the number one, first featured map on the stream. Additionally, if your map is the winning map, it's also showcased in the Cartomancer Chronicles, which I just realized that's going to be difficult to do because I have 2 winners. I'll figure that out. We're going to make it work. Anyway, thank you everyone for participating in the stream today. Whether you were actively, participating by submitting a map in the Damn Challenge, thank you so much for putting in the effort and putting yourself out there. I know it takes a lot of courage to put your art out there for others to, take a look at it, glance at it, observe it, and pick it apart, so to speak. So thank you for putting in the time, effort, and courage to share your maps with the community as part of the Damn Challenge. Remember, the Damn Challenge is an ongoing contest. It happens every 2 weeks like clockworks. So if you can't participate in this challenge, maybe you can participate in a future one. Sometimes timing isn't right. You may have a lot of work or family obligations or travel or any number of things popping up that would prevent you from participating. I understand. It's not a priority for everyone. Just remember that it's ongoing, so if you can't participate in this one, maybe in the future you can jump in and try another one. So, Hideout is the theme. You have roughly 2 weeks between now and the 16th. Get to it. Other than that, our next stream is Monday. That is Mapmaker Monday. It is a multi-stream like today across multiple platforms: Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Steam. Mapmaker Monday is themed around me building a map live for you guys and gals to watch and learn, but also you can give ideas towards the build and help me come up with ideas and themes. Additionally, the stream is hosted AMA format, which means ask me anything. So if you have questions about the build, about Dungeon Alchemist, about how to build something in your own copy of Dungeon Alchemist, or you're having trouble with exports, or any number of support inquiries, tune into any of our streams and ask away, and I will do my best to provide you with real-time guidance during the stream. Excuse me. Elfia Cutie, sorry I missed your follow a few minutes ago. I hope you're still here. Thank you for that follow. Little quick shout out for you. Otherwise, let's wrap up the stream. Thank you everyone for being here today. Had so much fun being here. Whether you're actively chatting, lurking, whether you are, it's your first time on the stream or you've been here for years, thank you so much for participating. We'll be back on Monday with Mapmaker Monday, but until then, we'll see you next time. I give a damn. I'm going to run a quick Dungeon Alchemist themed ad, and we will be logging out for the day. Thank you for being here. Mac out. Bye. Hey, Sayron, thank you for being here. Appreciate you.
But can it handle curves?
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 Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map-making application for role-playing games, now comes with both round and diagonal walls. Create amazing professional maps for your players in seconds.
Landra, I definitely plan to do
Steam
that.
Store.
Mushrooms and little features, things left behind, that's usually finish work for areas. It's a great suggestion though. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. We'll see you next time I give a damn. Mac out. Bye.